The migrant blockade. We had the ridiculous situation the other day of the Home Office saying we need to get some people into detention centres so that we can actually detain them and then take them off to Rwanda. That's what we need to do. Today, when that started to happen at the Best Western Hotel in Peckham, nice there, the bus that came to pick up the migrants, a legal thing to do, Border Force came with the police, a mob surrounded the bus, refused to move and started slashing the tyres of the coach to stop it from taking those migrants. Dozens of protesters wearing COVID face masks surrounded the vehicle. It comes as 711, by the way, migrants were detected crossing the channel yesterday, which begs the question, is it ever going to get any better? They're still coming crossing groves and we apparently can't do anything about it, which is absolutely appalling. We'd love your opinion on this. It's the main news story of the day. 0344 499 1000. What better way to start than with a man who basically is an international border control expert. It's been a while since I spoke to him. Henry Bolton, welcome to Talk Drive. Good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
Afternoon, Jeremy. Very well, thank you.
Oh, mate, I woke up this morning, I was on with Mike. So, I mean, the other day we had this farcical Home Office, mess, which said, oh, I'll tell you what, we need to send some people to Rwanda. We'll go to the detention centre. Oh, there's nobody in the detention centre. So what we'll do is we'll send out emails asking them to come to the detention centre and then we'll send to the Rwanda. Strangely, nobody responded. Today, I just want your reaction. I mean, that sight this morning of Black Lives Matter UK, including other protesters wearing COVID masks, surrounding a coach that's to pick up migrants because the government legally wants them to leave, and slashing the tyres so the vehicle can't move. What's your response to that, Henry Bolton?
Oh, Jeremy, where to start? Look, first thing is that it's patently obvious that if you announce that you're going to go out and detain people, A, a lot of them are going to disappear. B, those people who don't want you to detain them, whether they're anarchists or whether they're sort of campaigners and just don't believe in any of this, they're all going to respond. You're giving everybody a heads up. You don't do that. I mean, it beggars belief. I suspect that Rishi Sunak was just, and the Home Office were just trying to get something going on the back of the one man who went out on a flight having volunteered after being given 3,000 quid, and the situation with Ireland. Although I think in some ways that's an opportunity. But what we're seeing here as well is criminal damage, obstruction of the highway, obstruction of a police officer in uniform. I mean, those are arrestable offences. And the other week we saw the police with batons, with riot helmets, and with horses, dealing with a less aggressive crowd, I would say. And here they're not. I mean, this simply, the situation is falling apart, Jeremy. The plan is bad and the policing is simply too timid. When
you say the plan's appalling, let's just sort of cut this down with you. Mm-hmm. You have worked in border control. You're an expert. You have told me on numerous occasions that you have tried, Henry, to be involved in this process. All I hear on a daily basis, and a lot of people are going, are you talking about immigration again? I'll tell you why I'm talking about immigration again, because it is front and centre to not the survival of this country, but how this country is, I think, viewed internationally, how its own people are being treated, how its own people are missing out. And of course we get surrounded by the bleeding hearts, Henry, who will say, we need to show what sort of people we are. Yes, we do, and yes, we have. But we also need to look, I believe, after our own who are struggling. If I said to you, right, there are 711 migrants coming over on a daily basis, yesterday being the example. I can't, as the Prime Minister, seemingly move any from a detention centre or a hotel to a detention centre because I'm surrounded by protesters who refuse to move. I can't seemingly get anything through Parliament because everybody jumps up and down and says, well, what about the human rights laws and what about, lawyers and all this sort of thing? How in the name of God are we going to sort this out, Henry? How are we going to deal with 180,000 backlog and finally making this country have an answer to something that seems to flummox everybody, pal? Don't get it.
Jeremy, you mentioned borders. This situation is just symptomatic of another problem that we don't talk very much about, which is our porous borders. We've got immigrants and asylum seekers who are actually going the other way. They're landing at Dublin Airport. They're being allowed in. They are then crossing to Northern Ireland, into the mainland UK, and then out through Dover, hidden in the back of trucks because they want to go to Germany. They've come from West Africa, and it's more difficult for them. We've got all the cocaine, all the heroin, 97% of the firearms used in crime in this country cross our borders. Our borders are insecure, whether we're dealing with immigration, whether we're dealing with firearms, whether we're dealing with terrorism, whatever we're dealing with. They are insecure. That's a massive problem. But okay, let's talk about immigration. If you're not going to put the resources into planning and into staffing, and you're not going to train the staff adequately, then of course your system is not going to function efficiently or effectively. And all of those things, that's the situation with them. We're not planning properly.
But why? But why? So if people tell me, right, Henry, and you've been really outspoken about this, and I agree with almost everything that you say because it frustrates so many of us. If it's down to investment, if it's down to personnel numbers, if it's down to training, why have successive governments turned a blind eye? Did they not realise this was going to come and bite them on the backside? Because you just nailed it. What is fundamentally wrong with wanting a secure border? I don't understand why that is such an alien concept to all the bleeding hearts who say, I'll tell you what, let's open up to everybody. And they say to me every day, Jez, you're missing the point. All the people that come across, 80% plus are refugees. And I look them in the face and I go, why don't the people leaving war-torn countries stop in the first country that's safe? Why do they all come here, Henry Bolton? Because we lay the red carpet out. That's why.
Correct. And we've got an inefficient, ineffective way of dealing with it. One of this argument, I'm sick and tired of hearing it, that 60, 80%, whatever figure you throw out there, and it varies year to year, of the people who claim asylum are granted it, and therefore they're refugees. No, I don't buy into that at all. When you've got a system that is inadequately staffed, and the staff that we've got processing these claims have virtually no geographical knowledge of the places that these people claim to have come from, absolutely zero knowledge of the security situation there, zero knowledge of the society or the politics there, then of course they can't make a robust decision in the interests of this nation. Plus, the government is pushing pressure on the system to clear the backlog. So the default position is to grant them asylum, even though they are economic migrants who are putting their case forward as asylum seekers because they know that that's all they've got to do. So our system is fundamentally flawed, and it is making the problem worse because it is enabling these people to the activists and so on, the campaigners, to claim that they're refugees. So we're making a rod for our own back there. Ultimately, what needs to happen here, there are some things we can do concurrently. First of all, we need to detain people who arrive at the border illegally immediately. Now, we don't have the facility to do that. We don't have the legal facility. And sorry?
Why? Why do we not? It's the United Kingdom in 2024. We don't have the facility to say to somebody who shouldn't be in our country, we're detaining you. Why the hell not?
Jeremy, you'd have to ask the Home Office because at our airports, we do.
Yeah.
At our airports, we have the legal facility. I mean, most people who've flown into any airport in the UK, you've arrived well inside the United Kingdom. If you do not have the correct documentation, when you arrive at immigration control, you are detained.
Yep.
And we don't have there's a legal facility for that allows that. We don't have that on our maritime borders. For what reason, I have no idea. It's a massive gap in our process. The second thing is we have no collective detention facilities that are in place to deal with that on our maritime borders. Now, if we had that, then we could place these people in there. Now, I know that still doesn't stop the boats. But last year, in a piece of legislation that I welcome, but was not really widely recognised, the Illegal Migration Act, the government said that, or the law says that after the 20th of July last year, anybody who comes across, enters the UK illegally, not having come, without correct documentation, not having come directly from the country that they're fleeing, then they are not eligible to claim asylum. They should be detained immediately.
Yeah.
But the government having passed that legislation, didn't put in place the facilities to deal with it.
It's almost like it's almost like, listen, I'm not playing politics here, but it's almost like somebody needs to teach the Tory party what the Tory party was based upon. And I thought one of the things,
I agree.
you know, low taxation, that's gone out the window. But I thought a strong military, just 2 weeks ago, I thought secure borders were it. I find it astonishing. I was talking to somebody at lunch today. 10 years ago, if you'd mentioned immigration, you'd have been called racist. You would have done. That's an absolute fact. At least we're having the conversation. But there seems to be this sort of paralysis amongst politicians. I mean, we can't get political today, you know, because there's elections. But the other parties are talking about, let's do something in front. Why can't the 180,000, God, it hacks me off. Why cannot we? I was telling you about passports the other day, right, Henry? A year ago, you couldn't get a passport for 6 months. So they retrained people, put more people in. Now you can get one in 3 days. Why the hell can't we do that with Border Force? Why doesn't the government use experts like you and get this sort of... Because I believe the British people, and it's not a popular thing for many to say, but I think the British people are getting to a point where they're saying enough is enough. We are struggling. Yes, we've talked about the cost of living crisis. We've talked about all sorts of struggles that people have. But all the do-gooders say, what about these refugees? I don't believe that if France had hotels, there would be as many people coming on boats. I think we're a soft touch. I think we look like a soft touch. And I think people are taking advantage. And I think the British people have had enough, man. I really do.
Yeah, indeed. Look, the solution overall, first of all, I think that the reason... There are politicians out there. I know there are. I've spoken to them who want to do something. But the thing is, they don't know how.
Yeah.
And they're not in a position of power sufficiently to make it happen. What has to happen is that the government has to bring together all of the different departments. There are big tensions between the Foreign Office and the Home Office on this. And if you haven't got those two departments of state working together closely in mutual support to unify their effort, then it's not going to work. You've got to have particularly those two departments working together. But the Prime Minister is too weak to force them to work together. And the civil servants within both departments, don't really want to make it work anyway. We've seen the FDA, the Civil Service Union, the Home Office, now a judicial review against...
I might as well go full-on rant. I've been waiting for this. I'd love your response to this, Henry. Can I just say this, right? Sorry, I mean, it's sort of 4:15 already and I'm at it, right? Explain to me how we live, and people tell me all the time the Home Office isn't fit for purpose. Let's just nail this, OK? We pay the wages of civil servants in the Home Office. They are employed to independently carry through the policies elected by the British electorate democratically elect a government. Now, whether you agree or disagree with Rwanda, and I don't think it's the answer, right? The fact is, that's the Tories' manifesto policy. They are in government. We've now got the ludicrous situation, calm, Kyle, where the British taxpayer is going to fund the Civil Service Union, FDA. Dave Pennon was on the Secretary General was on with Mike this morning on Morning Glory. We're going to pay them to sue the government because they morally don't agree with Rwanda. Mate, I'm sorry to say, we're the bloody laughing stock, Henry. We really are.
Jeremy, you're right to rant about it. I was incandescent this morning. Look, the whole thing's falling apart. It's weakness from government. It's poor. We keep the Conservative Party and the Labour Party as well, really, keep putting weak people in charge, people who don't know how to run the cabinet, people who don't know how to run government, people who don't know how to run a large, multifaceted department of state. They don't have the grip on civil servants. Civil servants, we now know, are politicised. We've had a raft of different senior civil servants who've gone to work for the Labour Party, who have advised the Labour Party. We've got people like Gavin Barwell, who are openly opposed to government policy. He's left, I know, but that just reflects the political attitude of the civil service. So the only way to grip this is to have leadership that has got clear vision, establishes clear direction, and can actually manage all of that.
Henry,
and the problem is I don't see them in any political party.
Henry, you are always welcome on my show. You are a legend. We love the British flag. We love you being on. Thank you very much indeed, Henry Bolton.